I think you've got slide controls. Hey, Josh.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us today and spending your time with us, everyone. We'll start by introductions. We are Village Wealth. We are a buy-side platform that launched last month. My name's Liz McRae. I'm the president. We've got Rob Irwin, Chief Problem Wrangler Officer. Josh Diaz, who did our intros, he's the Chief Optimistic Officer, and Giselle is Director of Cat Herding and Director of Client Engagement. And we are on a mission to help people simplify the buying process. So the content today is fairly high level. We are speaking mostly to people who are maybe hearing these concepts for the first time. We understand a lot of you are professionals in this industry, and so people are all over the board with their level of sophistication of buying businesses. So we're going to keep it fairly simple today for the people who are just learning these concepts. The agenda today is looking at buying in a business from an investment strategy. We're going to go over a bit of the buyer journey map and introduce some of the roles of our professional advisors. We have some of our advisors here today. Scott McLeeman is with Gowlings. Terry Chan is with Kalos, who are also on our financial review and valuation advisors. And did we see Kristen pop up there? Yeah, we have Kristen with a firm. That's an accounting firm in Calgary here as well. She's going to be joining us in a bit. So let's carry on to the next slide there, Josh. So our ask for everyone participating, if you are interested in buying a business, if that is the category you fall into, we really invite you to participate with us by creating a profile after the presentation, and we'll walk you through what that means throughout the presentation. The address is www.villagewealth.com. So feel free to open it up while we're going through the presentation, and you'll see some things that are familiar once you get into the dashboard. If you're an advisor and you want to check out the dashboard too, you can always create a mock profile and play around. We welcome you to do that and kind of experiment with us so you can see what it looks like from the inside.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. I do want to point out that is the correct spelling of wealth for our company. It's a play on words. So yeah, that's not a typo, just to be clear.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about that. So we'll jump into the different types of buyers that we do tend to work with. The individual buyer typically tends to be the mid-career professional. They've got, around 10 to 15, 20 years of management experience or some management experience, but more senior executives that are looking for a career change and wanting to start out on a new venture. And they've been interested in entrepreneurship, but maybe didn't want to go the startup route. They need a living wage to support family and are looking for a hybrid between an investment strategy and a career change and a lifestyle change, essentially. The next category we go into is groups of individuals. So typically we see groups of family and friends pooling capital together, and they often will have one party sort of identified amongst themselves that would get in and be the owner operator of the company. A lot of the companies that we work with are mostly owner managed. So when an owner operator is retiring, there's still that part of the company that needs to be replaced. And that's typically why we see these individuals getting into these businesses, because they plan to take over the role from the exiting owner and manage or be the CEO, the president of that company as they continue to grow it as their own. The next category is existing organizations, existing businesses who are looking to grow through acquisition and buy businesses to grow their company in a number of different ways, or either adding a new division or getting into a new geography, expanding geographically, or expanding because it's more cost effective than organic growth. Lots of different strategies to buy through acquisition. So next category is a relatively new category, but nonprofits are starting to buy more small businesses to supplement their fund development. The traditional route is the private equity company. We're seeing more private equity companies being formed with the growing number of businesses that are coming up through succession. The baby boomer bubble is now hitting retirement, and a lot of those baby boomers are business owners. So we've seen more private equity companies being formed in the last few years, just getting ready for this preparation of this what we've heard it referred to as this mass exodus of business owners. The last category being co-ops, existing co-ops buying through acquisition or growing through acquisition, or new cooperatives being formed through opportunity development co-ops, investors pooling together, forming a co-op to buy existing companies that way. So a lot of the content that we're going to be covering today is sort of framing the individual buyer, the individual looking for the career change and what it looks like sort of from their perspective. We're going to take you through a bit of a story of buying a house. Most of us are homeowners, and it's very familiar with us that you have cash for a down payment. You are going to the institution to apply for a mortgage, and then you go out and you start house hunting and shopping for that dream home that you're going to buy, and then you get approved for your mortgage, and you're the happy homeowner. When it comes to paying for that house, you're going out, you're gaining income from your an alternative revenue source, your job, and you're paying the mortgage with income that's generated from an external source that pays for the mortgage. When it comes to buying a business, you have your capital for your down payment, and then instead of going to the mortgage company to see what you can get approved for a loan, you actually end up going out to shop for that business typically first. And it can happen in a number of different ways where you approach the lender to see what you can get approved for. But typically what they want to see is they want to see that you've got the business in hand that you're looking at to review, because they're going to look at you in combination. They're going to look at what you're bringing to the table, your skills, your background, as well as the company itself and how profitable it is, what's the cash flow, what's the valuation being asked of the company, and where do those things come in and play together in that formula. Once you've sort of identified the target business, then you're going to the bank, and then you're getting the final approval from on that lending. We're going to have more of a discussion, and we do welcome our advisors to kind of give their input into this process, because it is quite unique in every situation that comes up. So when it comes to paying for the business, typically it happens in a combination. There's cash down from the buyer, there's a loan from the financial institution, and then often there's seller financing, which doesn't always happen, but it's very common that the seller actually finances a portion of it, and they're actually another lender in the equation. This can happen in a number of different ways, where there's multiple lenders, multiple steps of the seller financing the deal, milestones that need to be reached, performance metrics that are tied into it. And so it's not as clean and clear as applying for a mortgage, getting approved, and then going along your merry way. There's a lot of creativity that can happen in structuring a deal and getting the financing for it. But the next piece of paying for the business is that the loan is paid for from the cash flow in the business. So next slide there, Josh. So the profits from the business is what pays for the debt servicing. So what's different from buying a home that you live in as your primary residence, you're acquiring the funds to pay your mortgage from an outside source. When it comes to paying for a business that is acquired, the proceeds that are used to pay for that loan are generated from the profit within the business. So the business pays for itself, just like any investment property that you might have, where the tenants are actually paying for the mortgage. In this case, the business is paying for itself over a term period. Next slide, Josh. So I'm going to pass it off to Rob. In his previous life, he was an investment manager, and so he's going to kind of go over the investment strategy on acquiring a business.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, this is just a really super simple example of essentially the benefit to someone to acquire a business. And what it really comes down to is the key to acquiring wealth is access to capital. And as Liz was talking about, buying a house, that's one way the North American real estate market allows people to accrue wealth, and it works, it's fine. In the public markets, you can't really borrow money to do that. And so what you can do is you can also borrow money to acquire existing cash flows or businesses. And this is a way of looking at it in a really simple example. 3 years, because it works out evenly. And in this example, you buy a business for $1.5 million at the beginning. And after 3 years, you sell it for exactly the same amount you bought it for, excluding from this illustration or carry costs, taxes, legal fees, and some other variables. But really what it's meant to show is it's generating about $500,000 in net cash flow a year. Profits, that profit, you take 100 grand for your trouble to manage and operate. The $400,000 in this example just drips against the repayment of the debt itself, paid off after 3 years, leaving you with about a 400% rate of return after 3 years of operating using someone else's money mostly. And really, again, the purpose of that example, as simple as it is to illustrate the functionality of how powerful access to capital can be if you have a good home for it. There you go, Liz.
Thanks, Rob. Very high level example, but you can kind of get the gist. Usually, some businesses are paid down within 3 years. A lot of businesses take longer than that. It is a higher, the higher the risk, the higher the return, like any investment. It's not as simple as this, but it paints the picture of what is possible. So we'll start to go through the process. We're going to go through a general high level process of what it looks like, and then we're going to throw another layer on top of that. So essentially, when you're first starting out to identify that you are going to look for a business, it's really important to create that search criteria. What exactly are you looking for? And that can mean industry, value, location, the return, the rate of return that you're wanting to achieve. It can play into your existing skill set and where you feel you can add value. It can play into what your role in the business is going to be. We have a lot of people that come to us and say, well, I'm looking for a business that's got, $1 million in cash flow. There's an existing management team already in place. I'm going to be a passive owner. A lot of businesses still of that size are still very much owner operated. So, a lot of it plays into the time and the role that you're going to play as an acquirer. Is that a match for the businesses that are in your price range? Is just one example. Really important to understand the process and get educated in the acquisition journey as a whole. And so once you sort of have a bit of an understanding how this works and exactly what you're looking for in your search criteria, then you sort of go out and you start to find where are those businesses. And this is one of the pain points in the search for buying a business. There is no central MLS. So you typically tend to look through your network, talking to accountants and lawyers and people who are just within your ecosystem, who has access to businesses that may potentially be for sale. More recently, there are marketplaces that have business listings for sale. They're often represented by business brokers, M&A firms. There are networking groups of M&A professionals. And if you're not familiar with that term, mergers and acquisition professionals who represent businesses for sale. Business brokers is the term of the other party, like a real estate agent that sells businesses. And these people often have access to businesses that are either coming up for sale or are for sale right now. The problem sometimes when working with going through a business broker is that you're accessing that business as much as a lot of other people, and so it comes down to speed at that point. Depending on who's representing the business for sale and how they're managing the sale, the speed of the transaction can really be controlled by that broker. If there's a lot of other buyers in the pool that are looking at the same business, and the other buyers who are looking at the same business as you are that much more educated or that much closer to capital, they can move much quicker than you. So that's another reason why it's important to be really educated on the process. So when you find a business that's a suitable fit for you, you can move on it at a good pace where you have more possibility of actually getting in and getting your bid in ahead of anyone else, or having your bid reviewed well. You're also sort of in this cycle of finding and reviewing businesses, as long as it can take. Sometimes it takes people longer than others, and it depends on how concentrated that market of businesses for sale is. If you can find a business that hasn't come to market yet, you're oftentimes the only person at the table having the conversation with the business owner. That's ideal in that situation because you have the first right of refusal. You have more time to review, to get into due diligence, pre-due diligence with them, and you basically have their full attention. The next part of the process, once you've identified a business that you want to buy, is positioning a letter of intent. And that's your offer letter. Typically, a letter of intent is non-binding, and you're moving through negotiations of structuring the deal and the terms and the transition period and then a number of other elements in there. And you're initiating the financing at this point as well, because you have a target company that you're looking at. You want to understand from the banks what they can loan on. And then you're also negotiating the vendor financing portion in relation to what you can get from the lenders. Moving into the next stage of the process, once an offer is accepted, you move into a period of exclusivity with that business owner where they say they're not going to shop it around to anyone else. Typically, this period has a deadline to it where they want to see that you've moved through pieces of the process within a specific period of time. Again, if you're the only buyer at the table who's entertaining this business owner, sometimes there is no deadline on the exclusivity period. And that's when you're getting a better chance to get it in, dig through due diligence. Your lawyer's helping you at this point, your accountant, the other advisors you're working with are helping you dig into the company and really understand if it is the company that was presented to you as being what it truly is. The purchase agreement is getting drafted at this point. That's with your lawyer. That's the legally binding agreement that is being drafted, and you're finalizing financing at this stage. So the gray boxes are your advisor team, and the blue boxes are where we've developed digital tools to help carry you through this process. This sort of expanded map sits inside your dashboard. When you create a profile on Village Wealth, this diagram is inside your dashboard as a tool to help guide you through the process. So if you look on the bottom, it's broken down into those 3 phases of search, offer, due diligence, and closing. The color-coded pieces are your advisors who are recommended to be brought in at those stages. One of the reasons that sometimes buyers have trouble moving through the process of buying a business is they haven't brought in the right advisors who have the experience required at the right time in the process. And it's really important to build your acquisition team of advisors who's going to be working with you. So we've outlined them as financial and valuation review advisors. Typically, this is an accounting or valuation firm. They really have an understanding of how to review businesses for the purpose of acquisition. Your legal counsel, corporate lawyers who have transaction experience are really important when buying a business. You don't necessarily want to be using, the estate planning lawyer or, the lawyer that does a transaction once a year. It's really recommended to work with advisors who do this all the time. Blue is the lender. Even though the lender wants you to have that target company in your back pocket when you come to them and apply for financing, it's really good to start building those relationships before you find your target, because they may have input and insight into how to better refine your search criteria of what you're looking for, and they're gonna coach you on what you need to have prepared when you apply for that financing to make it that much more smoother when you get to the stage of initiating financing when they're brought back in. The yellow box is the transaction advisor. And the transaction advisor is someone who's got experience with negotiations and the deal closing. They tend to be the quarterback when moving the deal from the offer stage through to closing. Not every deal has a transaction advisor. A lot of buyers will end up using the broker or the M&A firm who's on the other side. But as a buyer, if you're looking for representation, that is, they're working for you. This role is also the value mediation. They're helping you understand what a fair offer and what your options are for presenting an offer with specific terms in place that are favorable to you, and will get a deal across the table. And they work closely with your lawyer and your accounting firm as well. So it's sort of this triage approach. Again, you may have some of these people already on your team or within your network. Village Wealth has also gone through to create a directory of these advisors that sit on your dashboard. So at any point in your process, when you need to access these advisors, we have vetted really high caliber advisors from within the Calgary area, and we're building out more directories across Canada right now, but you can access them from within your profile. So what we do at Village Wealth to help you through this stage is we've developed digital tools to manage the buyer's ownership journey. And one of the biggest challenges is actually finding businesses that are for sale. A lot of businesses are not, they're not publicly promoted for sale. It happens very sort of, it's underground. They're not broadly advertised. Even when you look on the marketplaces, the businesses aren't identifying themselves as the business that they are. It's sort of broadly labeled like plumbing company in Calgary. It's not, you know, Pete's Plumbing by any means. So we've developed a series of tools to help you move closer to the offer stage in which you're going to involve those advisors. So from the decision to buy being the shopping cart, the next piece is your profile and search criteria, getting you really honed in on what exactly you're looking for in a business. One-click digital verification. Sellers really want to understand that you're a real person, you're motivated and you're serious about making an acquisition, and that you've been vetted to some degree. So we've embedded this into the profile creation, where once you're verified with us, you receive a badge on your profile. And that tells business owners and brokers and sellers that you've been verified with us and that you're motivated to look through what they have as far as inventory, or you're a real person when you're dealing directly with a business owner themselves, that you're tire kicker is a term that's often loosely thrown around. And when they're selling businesses on open marketplaces, they get a lot of tire kickers inquiring about their business, or they might have competitors inquiring about their business. The verification badge on Village Wealth allows you to present yourself as a credible buyer. The next piece is the education and guidance. So we have some docs and guides on the profile dashboard that can help you through this process. We're going to be adding more docs and guides to these sort of modules on your dashboard as we continue to evolve our site. The next piece is building your advisor team. Again, I've already mentioned the advisors that we've vetted are accessible directly on your dashboard. So if you log into your dashboard and you need to find a lawyer, click, it's one button to connect to lawyers who are really good at the transaction piece and can walk you through what it looks like once you get to that stage. The next piece is unique search options, and we're going to go into this in the next few slides. But the information request and review piece, once you receive information on a business to review, you can actually store it on your dashboard. And the information that comes from sellers through Village Wealth will also get populated on your dashboard. We'll show you the dashboard in a second. And then decision to offer, that's when you take your process off platform and you start working more one-on-one with the advisors that you've selected to help you through the rest of the process. So this is a snapshot of the site with multiple profiles. So one of the biggest reasons to create a profile is that business owners themselves and brokers can actually find you. And this is what we found is new in the marketplace. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And you have the ability to create an anonymous profile that can be searched. So if I'm a business owner I've got a business that's $5 million. I'm in Calgary. I want to find a buyer who's looking for a business in Calgary within that price range. I can come to Village Wealth. I can go to the buyers, and I can search for you. So the more information that you put in your profile about the type of business that you're looking for, the better chances you have of being reached out to. So business owners who aren't with a broker, again, or brokers and M&A firms will have access to you as a buyer. So that's the first method of being found on the platform. So that's why we're just really encouraging, even if there's not a business that is for sale on our platform, is to have that profile created so that people can find you. These are the tools that live inside of Village Wealth in order to help you find a business to buy. So the outreach and exposure is where you create your profile and you can push it out to brokers. So we have a database of brokers that we are continuing to evolve, people that sell businesses, people that are in the space of representing businesses for sale, get registered with us, and then we send your profile out to them. So you have the ability right on your dashboard to select which brokerages you are sending your profile to, and they get notified that you've created a profile, you'd like to get in touch with them. Here's your search criteria, and then if they have something that they can reach back out to you. The second approach is the targeted search. So if you know the industry that you're looking in, the size, the region, we can help and go out and find that, and we can do the research, pick up the phone, call businesses that aren't yet on the market when you know exactly what you're looking for. This approach is often used more for existing companies that are growing through acquisition because they know which industry sector they're looking for. A lot of our buyers tend to be what we refer to as agnostic. They don't really have a preference for industry necessarily. It's more the metrics of the company that they're looking at. The targeted search approach is often used as well by private equity companies. Again, honing in on that specific industry, that specific business that, again, they want first dibs at that business. So we're actually going out and trying to find businesses that are coming up on a sale or that are open to a sale, but again, not yet on the market. The third approach is businesses for sale, and this is the marketplace that lives inside of Village Wealth. There are businesses that are listed there for sale. Most of them are represented by brokers. A lot of our brokers that work with us can treat us like any other marketplace, but again, our buyers are verified, and that's one thing that they're not getting from a lot of the other marketplaces. The marketplace that we have also welcomes businesses that aren't working with a broker, the businesses that are sort of, we refer to them as the DIY sellers. You know, they are either passive business owners that are passively selling, or they just prefer to manage the sale on their own. They may have the knowledge and the expertise themselves. They may have sold businesses before, and for that reason, they feel like they can manage their own sale, and they just want access to you as a buyer. Or sometimes they just, you know, they want to try it out first before engaging with a broker. And for that reason, they're on the site themselves. And when you click to connect with those businesses, you're being directed directly to that business owner, and there's no broker intermediary in between the two of you. So again, business buyers with Village Wealth are viewed as verified, supported, educated, and prepared. A lot of buyers on other marketplaces don't have sort of the support systems in place that our buyers do. And so our buyers are viewed as that much more capable and prepared to engage with a business owner that is selling. This is the diagram on your left is the inside of the dashboard. So you can see underneath there is a wealth score. So when you create a profile, you're scored based on how you answer the questions. And when you get verified, it also increases your score. So a good wealth score, this is out of 100, but a good wealth score starts around 40 up, will really separate you from other people on the platform who haven't been verified. So a business owner who's looking for someone who's really, has the capacity to buy is looking for a wealth score of about that 40 up price, sort of a scoring point. Underneath the wealth score, you can see search for advice. And so you can search for what you need based on tags or based on location if you're looking for an advisor in a different area of the country. So we've got legal, financial, and valuation review evaluators. We have a few other categories that are opening up. The transaction advisor is opening up soon. And exit planning, financial planners, and growth advisors are coming soon. We will have more of those at your disposal. And so you can see how all of these sort of tools are easily accessible. This will be growing over time as we continue to evolve this. And you can search for your advisors based on their title or based on the need for your service. So again, in searching for advice, when you drop down that menu, there's selections for, offer letter support or valuation support, due diligence review. For any of the stages of buying a business, you can find support based on that direction. If you're not quite sure which advisor you need, you can find them through the advice search. So Village Wealth is attempting to bring together the ecosystem of acquisition and succession. We bring together sellers, buyers, brokers, and M&A professionals, as well as the rest of the advisors that are needed in supporting you through this journey. And we have a lot more planned coming ahead. What's the next slide there, Josh? So we have a speaker series that is starting on February 3rd. Again, create your profile and verification. And then once you do that, you'll sort of be in our database to receive communications of everything that's coming up. Our speaker series is going to be, I believe it's bi-weekly. The first presenter is Caroline Troy with Troy Valuations, and she's going to be speaking on the topic of what are the best businesses to buy. So we have a full series that follows sort of the buyer journey map. The advisors who work with us are all going to be our expert presenters in that series. So we really invite you, as you start to explore more of this journey of buying a business, attend the speaker series, get to know some of the professionals that are working with us. And the other piece that is for free at this time is the Outreach and Exposure pilot program. So that's connecting to brokers across the country that we are starting to work with. It's interesting. We've been finding that there's more brokers outside of Western Canada, you know, in Central Canada and Atlantic Canada that are representing businesses for sale. So even though brokers are across the country, they're still representing businesses for sale in different regions, not necessarily where they're based out of, which is newer in the last five years to see more of an extension arm, and it's kind of changing based on digital marketing and how they're able to access these businesses from a broader reach. So yeah, we've even got a Nova Scotia broker that represents businesses in Western Canada, and so that's our job, is to recruit all of these people and professionals who are selling businesses, so we can bring them to you, and we can showcase you as a buyer and help you in that search process so that you can move through. And Josh, do you want to speak to this one and take it from here?
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So yeah, what we've done for this particular call, and we're just finishing it up here. It'll be on your dashboard under Docs and Guides. Is, you know, lots of you are just at the precipice of jumping into potentially becoming future business owners, and so we wanted to have sort of an internal review of some of the questions that you should be asking yourself as you jump into this journey. It's just an assessment of, as you're going through this, things that you should probably ask yourself and walk through that journey internally with you. So that should be on Docs and Guides either later today or early tomorrow. There, so encourage you to sign up as well. And there's other series of documents that Liz talked about today on your Docs and Guides section. And so coming soon, as Liz mentioned, you know, we just launched here a month ago, and we are continuing to develop, you know, new buyer tools and continue to add more features to help the buyer through that journey. Liz talked about the speaker series. It's going to be bi-weekly. We want to introduce peer-to-peer messaging, which is, you know, connectivity directly on the platform with advisors. Introduce the seller advisor dashboard, where people can come and create profiles for businesses they'd like to sell, and advisors will be able to bring their clients on board. And the last piece is this, call it business owner passive listings. Companies that are looking to sell in the future want to market themselves as, hey, I'm looking to exit. I'm just not ready to do it this year or next year, but I want to get prepared and get themselves out in the marketplace in a way that can create connectivity and begin a conversation with people that are looking to acquire those types of businesses.